But I mastered that style. It's like the 5 deadly venoms. So all he had to do was get next to a nigga like that, and he could destroy him.
Believe in that, for real. We plan to take the same strategy we use with Death Row West, mind over matter, taking all our weaknesses and making it into our strength. That all these people talk about an East Coast, West Coast war, they like the Judas was to Jesus. They only here to cause confusion. We here to bring money and to bring change. They here to cause confusion. All these weak rappers, Nas, all these suckers, they battling off of East and West like this is a game. This ain't no game. If this was chess, we'd be yelling checkmate 3 years ago, because we've been beat these. It's not a game.
What up, Fight World? It's your boy Ego, and I'm back with some more boxing. I return to you as EGOVELI Still I Rise. Now, you know EGOVELI had to speak on this. Max Kellerman did an interview. Shout out to Fight Hype. Make sure you check it out. Link in the description. And he said some very questionable things, which I'm going to clarify and give my opinion, the EGOVELI thoughts in this video. Max Kellerman said, and I'll paraphrase. If you guys want, you can check out the full interview in the description box. Read the title. Max Kellerman says Pacquiao is the best of this era after Bradley win. Talks Mayweather versus Pacquiao 2. Now, in it, he basically alludes to Pacquiao trumping Mayweather and says Pacquiao's the best of this era. The reason, his rationale of thinking, is because Pacquiao started at such a light division and moved up so many divisions, being an 8-division world champion versus a 5-division world champion like Mayweather, weight division champion. And that's completely egregious. And I know Max Kellerman used to rap back in the day. Maybe this was just a freestyle and he wasn't really thinking about what he was saying. I don't know. I've interviewed him. He seemed like a cool dude. But there's so many holes to this story, and that's what I'm going to explore in this video. You can tell the new media is strong. And what new media is holding boxing, whether it's HBO, ESPN, YouTube channels, just boxing, writers, hold them accountable for what they say. No longer, boxing fans are getting smarter. No longer are we going to tolerate the nonsense, the double standards, the lies. If you have I don't care who people like, really, it doesn't matter to me. If you think Pacquiao's the best of this era, fine. But you got to have a better argument than what Max Kellerman said about him moving up more weight divisions. And fact of the matter is, there really isn't an argument because Floyd is the best fighter of this era. And I'm going to explore in this video why that is the case. If you go to the interview, here's what they think about you. 170 likes, 202 dislikes. Again, boxing fans are very smart, and people are speaking out, especially nowadays after Mayweather Pacquiao, which is great. And I guarantee you there's probably not even 170 thorough arguments as to how Pacquiao is the best ever or the best of this era over Mayweather, the guy that beat him, and 202 dislikes. That just goes to show you. But let me break this down and explain why Mayweather is the best fighter of this era over Pacquiao and the flawed logic of Max Kellerman. For starters, legacy. People told Floyd Mayweather for years, forget about Diego Corrales, Arturo Gatti, Gennaro Hernandez, Ricky Hitman Hatton, Oscar De La Hoya, Chop Chop DeMarcus Corley, Zab Judah. We don't care about none of those wins. If you do not fight Manny Pacquiao, your legacy is forever tainted. There's an asterisk by your name because you don't want to fight Pacquiao. Even though, and here's a snippet, Freddie Roach admits, courtesy of Dante's Boxing Nation, Freddie Roach admitted at a roundtable the fight did not happen because of them, because of their side. And it's documented and provable. They did not want to take the drug test. They said Floyd Mayweather can't make his own rules. He's not the commission. Then they didn't like the cutoff times. And that was the first initial reason the fight didn't happen. Beyond that point, I think you can blame both parties for the fight not happening. Because you had Bob Arum, who was bashing the other side, Floyd Mayweather, he's a boring fighter. And then Floyd was talking about Bob. Floyd Sr. was talking about the other side, Freddie Roach, and it just got ugly. And it's hard to make a mega fight like this with co-promotion, Showtime and HBO and all this stuff with people bashing each other, running the other person's name through the mud. That's why Mayweather ended up getting sued by Pacquiao for slander and things like that. So it's hard to make a fight when you guys are quarreling like that. So the first reason, I'm talking about the first reason, was the drug testing. We all know that. And they elected not to take the fight at that time. No one knew how big this fight would grow 5 years later because it looked like the fight wasn't going to happen. So you can't say, oh, Pacquiao did the right thing because he held out for more money, because no one knew that the fight would eventually happen in 2015. For a minute, it looked like it was never going to happen, right? And you didn't know what the money was going to be until they actually made the deal. Les Moonves and everybody. So back to the legacies.
What do you think then that in the fullness of time, when people look back in history, they will see that Pacquiao is the man that Mayweather didn't fight, rather than Pacquiao didn't get the Mayweather?
I don't think it'll come across that way. I think people will say, why didn't they fight each other? And blame both guys, to be honest with you, because the first negotiation we were against the blood test, and it was kind of our fault. Because the first negotiation we were against the blood test, and it was kind of our fault.
Bottom line is, people, the media especially, writers, HBO, ESPN, they blame Floyd. Even though it was the drug testing, they blame Floyd. Whatever, they blamed him. Floyd is not necessarily the best person to interview in situations like that, because sometimes he answers on his own accord. It's gonna sound evasive. They'll ask him direct Pacquiao questions. I'm not here for Pacquiao. I want to talk about Cotto. That's who I'm fighting. You know what I'm saying? And people blame Floyd for whatever reason for the fight not happening. Fine, whatever. But the bottom line is, they said Mayweather's legacy would forever be ruined if he doesn't fight Pacquiao. Now you got Max Kellerman saying that Pacquiao, it didn't really matter. So this whole thing was bullshit. You say the media pressured Floyd to fight Pacquiao for his legacy's sake, despite all the other stuff and the feats and the people he's beaten otherwise, other than Pacquiao. You said everything rests on this one name, Manny Pacquiao. But now Max Kellerman is basically saying none of it mattered, because either way, Floyd Mayweather would still lose as the best fighter of this era, because Pacquiao started in lower weight divisions. Floyd can't control where his body was, and that Pacquiao was skinnier and young and coming from poverty, and that's where he started out. Floyd did 5 weight class jumps, Pacquiao did 8, right? And I'm gonna talk about more in the video. But based on Max Kellerman's logic, what he's basically telling you is that none of it mattered, because even though people pressured Floyd to fight Pacquiao, it would not have mattered, because at the end of the day, Pacquiao moved up more weight classes. So by default, he's automatically TBE of this era. That's what you're basically saying, which sounds foolish. And here's an example for you guys. It's like the Super Bowl. Let's say the San Francisco 49ers play the New Orleans Saints, and the Saints win the game. Both teams did whatever they had to do to get to the Super Bowl, and the New Orleans Saints win. Let's say I'm the NFL, Ego is the NFL commission. Now, I'm from the Bay Area, so naturally I like the San Francisco 49ers. That's my team since I was a kid. So even though the Saints won the game, they won the Super Bowl, they should automatically, you would think, get the championship rings, the hats, the jerseys, the confetti poured on them, and their names in the paper the next day. But that's not what the case. Only in boxing do you have some foolishness like that. Even though the Saints won the game, the people like the NFL, the commissions, the imprints like HBO, ESPN are trying to crown the loser of the fight, right? And it just doesn't work like that. Like I said, I like the 49ers, but if they lost to the Saints, they lost. You know what I mean? And that's what it is. So, one, why did Floyd even have to fight Pacquiao if no matter what, he would still not be able to become the best fighter of this era? That's one thing that makes no sense. And then 2, we actually got to see the fight. I'd understand if we never got to see the 2 fight and you want to make some comment like this, but we seen it. We seen the outcome. And HBO themselves said they had Mayweather winning the fight. So, using my Super Bowl reference, that's like the New Orleans Saints beating the 49ers, right? And no matter what, the 49ers, you're going to say they won the Super Bowl, right? And it's just like saying, oh, but the 49ers, they had to deal with injuries throughout the season. Their first string quarterback got hurt. They were the wild card. They weren't expected to be here. They barely made it. So because they did all of this and their journey was different and they made it to the Super Bowl, we knew the New Orleans Saints were going to the Super Bowl. They had almost a perfect record throughout the season, right? So because the two teams' journey was different, you're basically saying, oh, because the Niners had a rougher start to their season, they were losing games and it didn't look like they would make it to the Super Bowl. And you knew that the New Orleans Saints were going to the Super Bowl based on how they were performing throughout their season. That's basically what Max Kellerman is saying with the Pacquiao situation. He's saying because Pacquiao, since he started at such a light division, he has to be the pound for pound best of this era because his journey was different than Mayweather's, right? Now, I know there's still going to be some people who refuse to believe that Mayweather trumps Pacquiao when compared to who's the best fighter of this era. And I interviewed Sugar Ray Leonard, and Sugar Ray Leonard said it himself. He said Mayweather and Pacquiao are both anomalies. I agreed with him then and I agree with him now. Notice in this video, I haven't slandered Pacquiao. There's nothing I said that was false in this. I didn't call Pacquiao names. I just simply made my points. And I understand pound for pound lists are going to be subjective. Some people have opinions on this and certain things are more appealing to others. But that is one of the weaker arguments when we're talking about Mayweather versus Pacquiao because, again, they fought each other, right? And we got to see an outcome. Beyond that, I understand, oh, everyone has an opinion. That's true. Everyone does have an opinion. But what are you basing your opinion on? So when you look at being subjective and having an opinion, that's fine. But I need to know what it's based on when you have stats, factual information, the two have fought, and you have history to prove or disprove your opinion. So that's where it gets a little bit of a gray area. Now, when it comes to, I'll use another football example. You look at Peyton Manning or Tom Brady. Both guys are awesome quarterbacks. They do get some hate, but if you call Peyton Manning or Tom Brady a bum or say they're terrible quarterbacks, you're probably just a hater. The bottom line is they get the job done. Now you look at the NFL currently, the new breed of quarterbacks. You got guys like Colin Kaepernick, Cam Newton, RG3. You have Russell Wilson with the Seattle Seahawks. All of these guys are young. A lot of them are big. They're running crazy 4.3s and record-breaking time. They're very athletic. Like you look at a Russell Wilson with the Seahawks. A lot of people like his ability to get out of danger. It looks like he's going to get sacked by a linebacker. They're putting an immense amount of pressure on him, blitzing him, and he narrowly escapes, does a spin move or something, and then he'll scramble for a positive. He'll run out of the pocket and scramble for a positive 6 yards. That's entertaining. So if that's the style you like, that's fine. I have no beef with that. But you cannot discredit one of the other great quarterbacks like Tom Brady or Peyton Manning based on what they do. They're not the most athletic guys. Peyton Manning's not going to, especially since he's been in the league so long. He just now retired. Shout out to Peyton. And he got a ring. And that's not his MO, to be under immense amount of pressure. If you get him in that serious of pressure, he may get sacked. He's not going to be the fastest guy out of all the quarterbacks. You know what I'm saying? He's not going to be faster than Russell Wilson and Cam Newton and things like that. He's had injury, concussions, and different things like that in his career. But you cannot dispute that he is a good quarterback. Same with Tom Brady. They're accurate. If there's a deep threat and they're not being covered correctly, they will exploit that. They move the ball from point A to point B. So it gets to the point where numbers don't lie. Men lie, women lie, but numbers don't. So despite if you hate Peyton Manning's style or Tom Brady's style, it does not matter because the proof is in the pudding and there's facts to base on that they are great quarterbacks. So even if you like the more athletic wildcat style of play, like it's more eye-catching and that really just resonates with you. Like I like how Colin Kaepernick will just break out and run and then do a QB slide for 12 yards. That's fine. But facts are facts. And only in boxing do you get this dumb rhetoric where, and it's probably because football is a team sport versus mano y mano. So you have a lot of double standards and racism, different things that happen with a one-on-one type of sport like boxing. But the reason I'm bringing up football, for some of you guys who are, I guess, can't see the correlation, is whether you like Mayweather's style or not, he is effective. He can take your best weapons away from you, nullify it. If you best him or you catch him with the shot, you probably won't catch him with it again, as evident in his fight with Shane Mosley. Badly hurt twice in the round 2. He got hurt versus Pacquiao, or clipped, walked back to the ropes. Pacquiao never really had as much success as he had in that round 4, etc. Mayweather is a fundamentally sound, complete fighter who's technically great. No different than Tom Brady or Peyton Manning. So again, based on styles, because they're not the most active guys in terms of they're going to scramble around and run around the damn field, that doesn't mean that they are not great. And I don't even think Floyd runs like some people say, but what I'm saying is because Peyton Manning, his style is more sluggish than a Cam Newton, can you say he's not a great quarterback? No, you wouldn't say that. Only in boxing would people say that. Foolish. Let me continue. Let's go to Manny Pacquiao's box rec. You'll see 58-6-2 as opposed to Floyd Mayweather, who has an undefeated record of 49-0, and he's never been knocked out. Pacquiao's been knocked out 3 times, right? So using the Max Kellerman logic from this, he says Pacquiao, he moved up from like the light divisions, like light flyweight, etc., and moved all the way up to let's say the Margaritos. But using that argument, if one so inclined, and that's the great thing about new media and the great thing about the internet, this stuff is readily available. So you look at this, Pacquiao has a knockout loss, that's why it's in red, to Rustico Torrecampo, right? He got knocked out in the 3rd round, brutally. If you watch the fight, it's on YouTube, what do they say? Oh, Pacquiao, he's knocked out. His eyes are crossed. His eyes are crossed. He has crossed eyes. This fight took place at light flyweight. So I understand Pacquiao started at lighter divisions, but he also got knocked out in lighter divisions. He got knocked out at light flyweight versus a guy like Mayweather who's never been knocked out. Then you look at the guy who knocked him out, Rustico Torrecampo, 15-8-6. That is his record. So it's pretty safe to say that, you see, it looks like a bag of Skittles. You see all these colors, these draws and stuff. He lost his second fight, his second pro fight, lost by knockout, right? Move up to here. And he had been knocked out 2 other times before he even fought Pac. Actually, he'd been knocked out 1, 2, 3, 4 times before he beat Pacquiao. If you follow the little spreadsheet. So a guy that had been knocked out, had all these draws, and he'd been knocked out 4 times, defeated the guy you're saying is the best of this era. And he defeated him in the 3rd round via knockout at the division that you're crediting him for moving up, right? And it's safe to say that after he beat Pacquiao, he won 1 fight, then he lost, then he won another fight, then he had back-to-back losses, and then a draw, which is a half win, half loss. Then he got knocked out again. Then it looks like he had like maybe a farewell fight and retired, right? So it's pretty safe to say that Rustico Torrecampo didn't really do much after the Pacquiao win. He beat a legend, and then he didn't really go on to do much. You see, there's more red than he looks like a Pyru. There's more red than anything else. So Max Kellerman is giving Pacquiao this credit for moving up these lighter divisions, but you have to keep in mind he also got knocked out in the lighter divisions. So we're talking pound for pound. Why did the pound for pound guy, you're saying he's pound for pound for starting in lighter divisions and moving up, but he was also getting knocked out in lighter divisions. So how does that make him pound for pound when he's losing to a guy like Rustico Torrecampo, who's 15-8-6? I mean, he wasn't exactly that, but I just did the math for you guys. He had 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 draws before he ever fought Pacquiao, and he had 1, 2, 3, 4 losses, all by knockout, before he fought Pacquiao. And this is the guy that beat Pacquiao. So you're saying he's pound for starting in lighter divisions, but he lost to a guy who had 4 knockouts and multiple draws, by the time he fought Pacquiao. And I'll just exclude all this stuff he did after. Makes no sense. Not to mention Pacquiao also got knocked out again by, I'm not even going to pronounce his name, but this guy. He got knocked out by him, TKO. So you're giving Pacquiao credit for being pound for pound because he jumped all these weight classes, which he did do, and that's no easy feat. But he also got knocked out by guys who are relatively unknown. 74-6, his record's not as bad. But either way, he's not someone who's revered in boxing, right? And that's the same argument that Max Kellerman is using, right? Now, let me break down some more points. I told you this is going to be fun. This is going to be real good. So the other reason it makes no sense is, yes, Pacquiao moved up 8 divisions. But when you really boil it down, what happened in those 8 divisions? And look, actually, let me start off with this. Because someone moves up in weight, that's commendable, but that doesn't automatically position you higher ranking than somebody else who's never been knocked out, who's undefeated, such as a Floyd Mayweather, who's putting on dominating performances, things of that nature. So here's an example for you guys. Evander Holyfield. This man started at light heavyweight, he went to cruiserweight, and then he went to heavyweight. Shout out to the real deal Holyfield. Hell of a chin. I like Holyfield. I used to have this game on Sega, right? So here's a little bit of fun with what Max Kellerman is saying. Light heavyweight, cruiserweight, and heavyweight. Versus if I look up Rocky Marciano, he only fought at heavyweight, right? And that's the record that they're trying to have Floyd beat. Look at, let's say, Jack Johnson, the boxer. Jack Johnson, he's only rated at heavyweight. Now, man, let me look at the greatest. Muhammad Ali. He only fought at heavyweight. So, let me get this straight. Muhammad Ali, Jack Johnson, Rocky Marciano, and Evander Holyfield. Now, the 3 guys I just mentioned, the latter guys, only fought at heavyweight, and they're considered pretty much all-time greats. So Evander Holyfield, by default, using Max Kellerman's logic, trumps all of them, because this is a guy who started at light heavyweight and was able to finish at heavyweight. That's what Max Kellerman is telling you, which makes no sense. So no one could rank Muhammad Ali or Rocky Marciano above Evander Holyfield because he has been rated at multiple divisions and he started off lighter than heavyweight, whereas Muhammad Ali, Rocky Marciano, and Jack Johnson only fought at heavyweight. Here's another example. Max Kellerman's own co-host, and still, didn't I just say that? Roy Jones Jr. And it's gonna be that way, baby. Captain Hook. This is Roy Jones, right? He started his career at light middleweight, went to super middleweight, light heavyweight, cruiserweight, and then he went to heavyweight. So he automatically is better than Evander Holyfield, Muhammad Ali, Jack Johnson, and Rocky Marciano. All these great heavyweights, because he started off at light middleweight and he ended at heavyweight. And I know what some of you guys are thinking. You're going to be like, oh, but Roy Jones, he only had 1 fight at heavyweight. Fair enough. Wrong. I've already thought about that. See, this is why it's so hard to go against new media. And I'm going to explain. Roy Jones. This is where it pays to know your boxing. So he did only have 1 fight at heavyweight. He fought John Ruiz for the WBA heavyweight title, right? So that's his only heavyweight fight. And then he dropped back down to light heavy and beat Antonio Tarver in their first fight. So he moved up to heavyweight for 1 fight and won the WBA title off of John Ruiz, right? So Pacquiao, we look at him, and he's an 8-division champion. He's considered an 8-division champion, right? Where did he get that 8 division? What weight class? Versus Antonio Margarito. That was his only fight in that 8th weight class. And he fought for the vacant WBC title. Now, for some of you guys that don't know shit about boxing, what a vacant title is is a title where there is no champion. It's just two challengers for an open belt, a belt that's up for grabs, if you will. It got vacated. Maybe someone moved up in weight. Maybe someone got stripped of the belt, maybe for not fighting their mandatory or not passing a drug test. It is a free belt. It's up for grabs to the leading contenders or whoever they put in line for that fight, which was Antonio Margarito, right? So Roy Jones Jr. fought John Ruiz for a WBA heavyweight title. It wasn't a vacant belt. That was his only fight at heavyweight. Pacquiao's only fight at junior middleweight was against Antonio Margarito, right? And that was for a vacant belt. So it wasn't like Margarito was the champion. And I'm going to show you two other things with that. Fought at a catch weight of 150 pounds. So Pacquiao's recognized as an 8-division world champion, and he fought that fight at a catch weight of 150 pounds. So 4 pounds shy of the typical full 154 pound. Now, when Roy Jones was fighting John Ruiz, there is no, you're either heavyweight. Roy Jones there's no like catch weight for heavyweight. You can weigh, if you're over like 200 and something pounds, you're a heavyweight. And Roy Jones had to pack on muscle for that, right? Versus in the Pacquiao fight, he fought at a catch weight of 150 pounds. Now, here's something else that I have to show you. Antonio Margarito. At the time they fought for the vacant belt, Pacquiao, he beat Roberto Garcia, who pulled out of the Sean Porter fight, right? And I haven't seen him since. And he had lost to Shane Mosley via stoppage. Granite Chin Margarito had been stopped. So Pacquiao fought Margarito for a vacant belt, and he was one fight removed from being knocked out from Shane Mosley. And it wasn't at the full, it was a light middleweight fight, vacant light middleweight fight at a catch weight of 150 pounds versus Roy Jones Jr., who fought at a full heavyweight, and he fought a champion heavyweight, not for a vacant belt. So by default, how does ESPN and guys like that, how can they put Manny Pacquiao before Roy Jones Jr. even? Because using Max Kellerman's logic, Roy Jones again moved from light middle to heavyweight, and they both in the where they topped out at. So Roy Jones is heavyweight and light middleweight for Pacquiao, the weights that they never went past. They only had one fight, but Roy Jones' fight was against a champion, not for a vacant belt, and it wasn't at a catch weight. Period. So another hole in Max Kellerman's infamous argument. We're talking about a guy who fought for a catch weight, and you're saying he trumps Floyd Mayweather, an undefeated guy who beat the guy. It's not looking good. Looking shaky, baby. And the last thing I'll say, and I can close this because I feel I've made my points. Just like this guy saying he's the best fighter of the era now because he beat a guy he already beat twice. Right? And that's Timothy Bradley. HBO was the first to let you know that they thought it was a travesty. Bradley was receiving death threats from beating Pacquiao. They said it was egregious. It was a robbery. So bottom line is HBO was on record stating that Bradley shouldn't have won the first fight. They told their viewers that. I don't know what you guys just seen, even though the guy that has the belt in his hand, he doesn't deserve it because we had him losing, right? So now all of a sudden that he does good and he looks sharp versus Bradley, a guy that HBO told you he already beat twice because he clearly won the second fight. The first one was controversial because Pacquiao didn't get his hand raised, but HBO still told you that, hey, the wrong guy won here. We know, we all seen it. We all know, and they made it their business to tell the world that multiple times on the Fight Game and on like when they did the greatest hits and stuff like that. They told you Pacquiao won, Pacquiao won, Pacquiao won. But now Pacquiao's getting all these accolades for beating a guy he's already beaten twice. Meanwhile, the guy that beat him in a dominant fashion, Floyd Mayweather, who had him only land 71 punches. Now you got people coming out of the woodwork saying watch it in slow motion. He doesn't rank higher as the best of the era because of this Bradley win. When Floyd fought him, they said Pacquiao was out of his prime, damaged goods, hurt shoulder, and then now that he beats Bradley, a guy he's already beaten twice, all of a sudden he's resurrected and he looks so good and he looks so sharp. Foolishness. New media is here to stay, and you can't make sense of this. You can't give somebody credit for losing. You lost. Here's Floyd. You lost to him. You lost for all the marbles after 5 years. You lost to him. Lost. There's a winner and a loser. You lost. So I completely disagree with Max Kellerman in this whole he moved up in weight, and I feel I've done a great job of substantiating that in this particular fight. Let's recap. You're saying he moved up these weight classes, which he did, but he also got knocked out by the homie Rustico Torrecampo and others. And recently Juan Manuel Marquez. Now see, that's another point. Let me just button this up real quick. And I hate triangle theories, but we're talking about the best of the era pound for pound. You have to notate the fact that Pacquiao, in all of his fights with Marquez, every single one of them, he struggled. His first fight, it looked like it was going to be a continuation of Marco Antonio Barrera, ended in a split draw. Now, I give Pacquiao credit because one judge incorrectly tallied up their scorecard. Therefore, Pacquiao should have won that fight instead of it being a draw, but they didn't score their scorecard right. But that does not change the fact that you knocked the man down 3 times and it looked like he was going to get battered and stopped. And he worked his way back into the fight and made it a very competitive fight. Even if you had Pacquiao winning the fight, even if the judge scored it correctly, the bottom line is it was competitive. Same thing with the second fight. There's a one knockdown. Marquez got knocked down. It was a very competitive fight. He buckled Pacquiao's knees. Marquez got knocked down. Great fight. One of the all-time great fights. I love watching that fight. The third fight, I thought Marquez clearly won and got robbed, and I didn't see HBO jumping up for joy or jumping on the Marquez train telling the viewers how Pacquiao robbed him, or the judges robbed Marquez of a victory, but that's another issue. And in the fourth fight, you guys both did good in the early rounds. You were clearly winning the round you got knocked out in, and again, you got knocked out cold, faceplant, wicked, bad, knockout loss. So we're talking pound for poundage. And Mayweather fought Marquez also, and he defeated him. He defeated him in a dominant fashion off of a 21-month layoff here. He fought in 2007, December 2007, and he fought Marquez in 9/19/2009. So almost virtually 2 years later. Inactive because he was retired. He told the world he was retired. He was Dancing with the Stars and things like that after he knocked out Ricky Hatton, an undefeated fighter, right? Came back and went to dominate. Now, another thing, I know it's so predictable. Some people are going to say, oh, but Juan Manuel Marquez, Floyd came in overweight, which is true. Off of a long layoff, maybe he couldn't lose the weight. I don't know. So he came overweight, paid a fine to Marquez. Marquez was considered, and this is the other thing, here's another misconception. Marquez beat Juan Diaz and called Floyd Mayweather out. A lot of people are going to bend and twist and say, oh, Mayweather, he drug small Marquez up to this division, and that's why he beat him, right? That's false, because Max Kellerman, the guy we were talking about in this video, he interviewed post-fight Juan Manuel Marquez, do your research, on HBO after he beat him. He says, you beat Diaz, a young, strong fighter. You're clearly the best lightweight. What's next? Marquez specifically said, I can't get a rematch with Pacquiao. He doesn't want to rematch me. I want to fight the best, so I want to fight Mayweather. And he called Mayweather out while Mayweather was retired. So if you didn't want those problems, you didn't want to jump up and wait, then you shouldn't have called the man out while he was on his couch at home or doing whatever, eating flaming hot Cheeto. You know Floyd likes his junk food, Taco Bell or whatever Floyd was eating. You shouldn't have called him out. So cease with that. Oh, Floyd drug him up. He drug up a small Marquez. And here's another thing. Mayweather style-wise he's not even reliant on, they call him a runner. You know what I mean? So he's not even reliant on weight advantages in general. That's not even his fighting style. I understand if we're talking about Tyson Fury, who's 6'9", 6'10", a Goliath, versus a former cruiserweight in Steve Cunningham. Yeah, okay, he was leaning on Steve Cunningham. That can take its toll on your body because this is a big oak, a big tree, and he's leaning on a cruiserweight. That's going to tire you out. Or another example would be Alexander Povetkin when he faced Vladimir Klitschko. Klitschko is huge. He's 260, 268 pounds. So clinching and a guy muscling you around and leaning on you, that's going to fatigue you. And Povetkin is not the biggest heavyweight in terms of his height and stuff like that. So that can wear you down. But Floyd's style is not one that's even reliant on a weight advantage. He's slippery, he's elusive, he's fighting off the ropes, good footwork. He wasn't leaning his body weight all on Marquez and wearing him down and putting him in headlocks and stuff like that. So that's another misconception, that Floyd's weight advantage or whatever was the only reason that he beat Marquez. And the final point with that is, name one other, Marquez has been a pro since probably 1993. Name one other person that Marquez has ever fought that dominated him for 12 rounds out of 12 rounds, right? That and a knockdown. Name one person. Tough fights with Pacquiao. He had fights with Chris John. He's been in tough fights. Katsidis. None of them dudes dogged him and beat him. Tim Bradley didn't beat him 12 rounds out of 12 rounds. Mayweather did because he's a higher skill set. And I think Nacho and Marquez knew that. That's why they never really pushed for a rematch in the Mayweather fight. So again, we're talking about a guy like Manny Pacquiao who struggled 4 times out of 4 times. Whether he won or lost, he struggled against this man right here. He struggled each time he fought him. Mayweather dominated 12 rounds out of 12 rounds with the knockdown, his first crack off of almost a 2-year layoff. And we're talking about pound for pound, who's greater. There's no question. Floyd Mayweather is clearly the best of this era. You guys can get mad. You guys can talk about gays and dicks and I hate you, ego, those different things. But these are the facts, and I dare one of you guys to go against EGOVELI and try to prove one of the things that I visibly showed you. Rustico, Torrecampo, you can look up this stuff. I'm showing you. You're getting to see Margarito, catch weight. Research it. What fact is non-factual? I didn't make this. I didn't make this up. So you guys tell me how Pacquiao defeats Mayweather in the argument of who's the best of this era when Mayweather holds a win over him after 5 years. Checkmate. Make sure you like the video. As always, hate, comment, and subscribe. Till next video is Ego signing off. So if you enjoyed this video and want more content like this on the channel, you can show your appreciation by going to the PayPal donate button or the YouTube support button, and you can donate any amount that you feel is equivalent to the value of this video. Much more to come. Thank you guys for your support. Boxing Ego, the future of boxing.